For 30 years, Martha Jennings worked as the head housekeeper for the wealthy Whitmore family in South Carolina. The Whitmores owned law firms, businesses, land, and political connections across the entire county. People admired them publicly, but inside the mansion, Martha witnessed a much darker reality. She began working there after her husband suffered a disabling accident that left her as the only provider for her children. Desperate for money, she accepted the difficult job despite rumors about the family's cruelty. Margaret Whitmore, the family matriarch, demanded perfection every hour of the day. Martha cleaned enormous rooms, polished marble floors, cooked meals for guests, and stayed late whenever the family hosted parties. Over the years, Martha saw terrible things hidden behind the family's wealth. She witnessed violent arguments, emotional abuse, hidden affairs, suspicious cash exchanges, and threats made toward employees. She overheard conversations about bribery, fraud, and business deals connected to local officials. Several workers disappeared suddenly after conflicts with the family, but Martha remained silent because she needed the paycheck. Her children depended on her income, and everyone in town feared crossing the Whitmores. Anyone who challenged them mysteriously lost jobs, businesses, or court cases. Then one rainy evening, everything changed. Forever, Margaret Whitmore was found dead inside her office. Police claimed she died after a fall, but Martha knew the truth immediately because she had seen exactly what happened that night. The night Margaret died, Martha stayed late preparing guest rooms for visiting relatives. While walking upstairs with fresh towels, she heard shouting coming from Margaret's private office. The voice belonged to Daniel Whitmore, Margaret's oldest son. Martha moved quietly toward the hallway and froze when she heard Daniel screaming about hidden money and missing financial records. Margaret threatened to expose years of illegal business activity tied to the family empire. Through the slightly open office door, Martha saw Daniel shove his mother violently against a desk, papers scattered across the floor while Margaret threatened to contact federal investigators. Herself terrified, Martha stepped backward into the shadows. Then she heard a loud crash. Everything went silent. Minutes later, Daniel calmly walked out of the office adjusting his expensive suit jacket. Martha hid behind the hallway wall while he passed. His face looked completely emotionless. The next morning, police announced Margaret's death had likely been an accident. Martha immediately realized the family was covering up the truth. Later that afternoon, Daniel approached Martha privately in the kitchen. "You're like family to us," he whispered. "You'll stay quiet, right?" The message terrified her. For weeks, Martha remained silent while detectives questioned staff members and relatives. The Whitmore family publicly acted heartbroken while privately pressuring employees to repeat the same story. Martha barely slept at night. Guilt consumed her every day, but fear kept her silent. 6 years later, a young investigative journalist named Rachel Pierce reopened public interest in Margaret Whitmore's death while researching wealthy Southern families connected to corruption scandals. Rachel discovered inconsistencies in Margaret's autopsy report and suspicious financial records tied to Whitmore businesses. Federal investigators soon became involved. One evening, agents arrived unexpectedly at Martha's apartment. They explained new evidence suggested Margaret's death may have been murder rather than an accident. At first, Martha denied knowing anything. She feared retaliation against her family if she spoke publicly. But investigators revealed they already possessed evidence connected to fraud, bribery, and intimidation tied to the Whitmore empire. Former employees had secretly confirmed years of abuse and criminal behavior. Martha finally broke down emotionally. After 6 years of silence, she described everything she witnessed that night: the violent argument, the threats, the shove, and Daniel. leaving the office moments before Margaret died. Federal authorities immediately reopened the case. News spread rapidly across the country. Reporters surrounded the Whitmore estate while prosecutors prepared search warrants tied to financial crimes and corruption. Meanwhile, the Whitmore family turned against Martha completely. Threatening letters appeared outside her apartment. Strange vehicles followed her through town. Lawyers warned her she would destroy innocent lives if she testified publicly. But after 30 years of silence, Martha realized something important. The family she protected had never truly cared about her. The courtroom remained silent as 68-year-old Martha Jennings slowly approached the witness stand. For decades, she had quietly cleaned rooms while pretending not to notice the crimes happening around her. Now, for the first time in her life, she finally told the truth publicly. Her testimony lasted nearly 2 full days. Martha described years of intimidation, corruption, hidden payments, emotional abuse, and threats inside the Whitmore mansion. She explained how local officials received gifts before investigations disappeared mysteriously. Then Martha described the night Margaret Whitmore died. Jurors listened closely as she explained hearing Daniel threaten his mother about exposing financial crimes. She described the violent struggle and Daniel calmly leaving the office afterward. Daniel's attorneys aggressively attacked Martha's credibility. They accused her of lying for money and revenge. But prosecutors introduced phone records, financial documents, witness testimony, and hidden bank accounts confirming major parts of her story. The courtroom erupted with shock as investigators uncovered millions of dollars connected to fraud schemes and bribery operations tied to the Whitmire family empire. Within weeks, multiple family members faced arrests connected to corruption, conspiracy, and financial crimes. The once powerful Whitmire legacy began collapsing publicly. After the trial ended, the Whitmore empire collapsed rapidly. Businesses connected to the family declared bankruptcy while luxury homes and properties were seized during federal investigations. Daniel Whitmire was convicted on multiple charges related to fraud and his mother's murder. But even after losing everything, members of the Whitmire family blamed Martha for their downfall. Several relatives filed a lawsuit accusing Martha of betrayal and defamation. Their lawyers argued she violated family loyalty by testifying publicly. The lawsuit quickly became national news. During court hearings, the judge repeatedly criticized the Whitmires' arguments. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence proving Martha's testimony was truthful and supported by independent investigations. Finally, the judge dismissed the lawsuit completely. In a powerful statement, the judge declared that truthful testimony regarding criminal activity cannot legally be considered betrayal. The courtroom reportedly erupted into applause after the decision. For Martha, the ruling represented more than legal victory. It confirmed she had finally done the right thing after decades of fear and silence. Soon afterward, publishers approached Martha with offers to write a memoir about her experiences inside the Whitmire mansion. At first she refused, but eventually she agreed. Martha titled her memoir Behind the Whitmore Walls. The book described her 30 years working for one of the wealthiest and most feared families in the South. She wrote honestly about corruption, abuse, manipulation, and the terrifying pressure employees faced every day. Publishers expected moderate sales. Instead, the memoir became a massive bestseller within weeks. Readers across the country became fascinated by Martha's story and the shocking secrets hidden behind the Whitmore family image. Television networks competed for interviews, while documentary producers offered large contracts for adaptation rights. Critics praised Martha for exposing how wealth and influence allowed powerful people to avoid accountability for Decades meanwhile, the Whitmore family's legacy completely collapsed. Scholarships, buildings, and charities connected to their name quietly removed all references to the family. Martha used her witness protection, compensation, and book royalties to purchase a peaceful home in another state. For the first time in her life, she no longer worried about money, intimidation, or survival. She spent her days gardening, visiting grandchildren, and occasionally speaking publicly about corruption and abuse. Reporters often asked whether she regretted staying silent for so many years. Martha always answered honestly, "I survived the only way I knew how," she said. But silence protects powerful people more than anyone else. At 72 years old, Martha Jennings transformed from an invisible housekeeper into the woman who destroyed one of the most powerful family legacies in the South, and history would remember her for telling the truth.